Welcome to the PAES Lab. This is the 15th and final PAES Lab training video. At this point, you should have a basic understanding of the PAES system and how to use it as an assessment tool. You're nearly ready for your first employees. Congratulations! This video will outline the next steps, including what materials to review and keep on hand from this training, as well as how to conduct an employee orientation. If you've just purchased a new PAES Lab, the 33 large boxes in your shipment have been unpacked and the job boxes are organized in their component areas. Setup is looking good, but there are still some things you need to do before your first employee arrives. The last section in your participant's guide includes a Getting Started guide called After the Training. This section covers first what you need to know and accomplish for the general PAES Lab setup, including your check-in station and any additional software installations that need to take place. Second, what you need to do to complete the setup of each component. Third, what you need to do in certain specific job boxes to make sure they're ready. And finally, a list of consumables and shopping lists for the items you will need to purchase periodically to keep your lab operational. Meanwhile, here are some tips to consider before your first employee arrives. After you complete these setup tasks, be sure to review the PAES manuals. You may feel very comfortable with the inner workings of the PAES Lab, but when you're in the middle of a lab, surrounded by employees, it's often difficult to recall the specific and sometimes complex details. Refresh yourself by reading through the participant's guide, and read the PAES Lab Procedures Manual to answer any questions you have. The more familiar you are with the PAES Lab, the more accurate the assessment results will be. Walk through the supervisor work procedure and keep a copy handy as you work with employees until you're consistently following those instructions. If you have time, practice the procedure with one of the other supervisors who will also be working in the lab. Have each of you take turns acting as the employee and as the supervisor. Review the scoring guide to refresh yourself on the rules for assigning scores. There's a copy of the scoring guide at the front of each data collection booklet if you don't have a standalone copy at hand. We recommend also keeping a scoring guide handy for the first few weeks to make sure you assign scores accurately. Look at the Assessment Skills for PAES Evaluators form. It's a useful one-page summary of all the skills a supervisor will need during the lab. Create an employee work folder for each employee. Each work folder should contain an employee work record, a cumulative record, and a daily points record. Each employee will also need a data collection booklet, but as the booklet is for supervisors to record scores for employees, the booklet does not go in the employee work folder. You can prepare data collection booklets for your lab by writing each employee's name on a blank booklet and organizing them into PAES Lab shifts. Some employees with significant needs will need a subtask data collection booklet instead of a standard data collection booklet. If you're fairly certain an employee will need extra assistance completing PAES jobs, go ahead and prepare one of these for them. Keep in mind that in PAES, we are trying to forget what we think we know about a student before they enter the lab. The goal of PAES is to find out what employees can do on their own with as little help as possible. Make sure you're ready to score jobs properly by keeping scoring guides and QRGs handy. Fill out a weekly planning form that assigns the first job of the day for each employee. Assign jobs to Group 1 and then rotate those same jobs to the other groups throughout the week. This way you only have to learn procedures for a few jobs each week. Be ready to give your new employees a short orientation before they start their first job, using the PAES Lab Employee Orientation Sheet. This sheet can also be found in the back of your participant's guide in the What to Do After Training section. It gives you a step-by-step breakdown of what to review with employees so they will be effective and self-sufficient in the lab. First, instruct your employees to treat the PAES lab like a work site by explaining what employees will be expected to do in community employment. Then, walk through the procedure they will follow in the lab, practice the procedure with each student. First, cover the first steps the employee will perform when they arrive. Then show employees how to set up and prepare jobs. Show employees how to perform jobs and call supervisors over after completing attempts. Remember, do not perform a full job from start to finish with employees, and do not assign any scores. And finally, show them the procedure for checking out of the lab at the end of the period or shift. Also, when your employees arrive, you might want to conduct a brief orientation on hand tools. Lay out the hand tools in the construction industrial area and be ready to review each tool. It's a good idea to have the construction industrial equipment manual available during the orientation. If employees can't remember what a certain tool looks like, instruct them to find it in the equipment manual. You can find a list of hand tools to include in the orientation in the What to Do After Training section of your participant's guide. Finally, for each job you assigned, review the setup, scoring, and disassembly instructions in the component QRGs. Component QRGs are also very useful in becoming familiar with jobs you want to assign, as they contain all the instructional materials needed for the job. Now you're ready for your first employee. Expect a successful and enjoyable PAES Lab experience for PAES employees and PAES staff. Congratulations! You've completed the PAES Lab training. You're ready to supervise a PAES Lab. Please feel free to use these videos as a reference if you have any questions going forward. Thank you for completing the PAES Lab training. We wish you the best of luck in your PAES Lab.